Hey guys.
Hello.
Hello. Of course, my computer crashed. So I saw you were in the waiting room, but yeah, I had to resort everything
That's
as
okay.
well as changing room because Thomas got meetings now. So, okay, give me a second. I put a couple of things in place and I'll be back.
Hi, I'm
Hey,
Amber.
I'm Benji. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you well.
I tend to have really bad reception in my house at the moment, so
Oh, really?
yeah. I think I finally found the right place.
Oh, bless you. That's
How are
good.
you? How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Just working on a little something at the minute, so I thought, I'm just gonna, seeing as I'm sat here, I might as well join on the conversation and just see what's happening. So,
Okay. Yeah, I'm new to this. Like I know Valeria, but she invited me just to kind of be an observer. I do art and I do photography,
nice.
and I think she invited me because when I was in uni, one of the modules we did was about taboos in the art because I was studying theatre and film, and then we did this module which was quite intense about how people express the body within arts,
Mm,
and it was there was all sorts of different experiments that people used to do with blood and to do with different so she was like, "Oh, this is fascinating. I'll bring it up on Monday." And then she was like, "Yeah, you can come." So I was like, I haven't spoken about it for like 10 years. So, you know,
That's exciting.
we'll see. But yeah.
Yeah, we kind of got off topic last week, so it's quite fun to sort of just be able to talk about random stuff. Um, so yeah. You okay,
Right.
Valeria?
Yeah. Oh, I wasn't prepared. Too many changes. And down here is so cold, but it's fine. Wow, okay. So welcome to the
Hello.
Unended Space. With Benji, we started talking a few days ago, really, about different things, and we ended up talking about the taboo, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we thought, well, why don't we just expand a little bit more? And as always, this is just an informal chat to share what we know, what we think. It's not, um, we don't need to prove anything to anyone. It's just, I am always hoping to, with these open-ended spaces, to make it a little bit like as if we were going to meet on a pub or at a cafe.
Yeah,
When,
yeah.
of course, we
Yeah.
can't do this, so it wants to be that relaxed.
It's well needed, I think.
I think so.
A
It
pub
needs
trip.
goodness. Yeah. So I don't know, Benji, did you? So he studied. You studied the topic of taboos in art and the gaze. Did you?
The reason why I did it was because this was the third year before we had to decide if we were going to do drama school or other stuff, and we most of us, and I think most people know about like actors and stuff, especially when they're in their like early 20s. They like going out. They're quite boisterous. So students going out. So we were talented, but we did everything at the last minute, and we were always hungover. So a lot of us needed extra UCAS, extra points for
Mm.
certain things and extra module points. So we had to take an extra module, and there was two options, and one of them was musical theatre. But we had already done something similar the year before, and I'm not the biggest fan of musicals.
Mm.
Um, and so this kind of struck out, and the guy was pretty cool. He was a bit of a young guy, a bit of a hipster, and he had a bit of a swagger to him, and he seemed like a cool guy. But we didn't know what we were in for because he was quite
Mm.
strict, and he just showed us endless. It was like the Clockwork Orange scene where we were indoctrinated with like, it was just, he rolled a TV in and it was just scenes of like these. I don't know if you know them, Valeria. Like I can't remember the names, but there was these famous Russian and German, and I think some Italian artists who like suffered from HIV or AIDS, and then they did these shock theatre things where they hired a venue and they deliberately cut themselves and they bled on the stage, and then they put their infected blood on pieces of paper and put it above the audience.
Wow.
And we saw the videos and it was like, oh, we just had lunch, like, but we had to write a dissertation on it, and it was like it was the hardest thing I've ever had to do. Like, I had to write pretty much a book on all these videos and clips, and and this was like 2 years after YouTube just got launched, so there wasn't that many things available like there is now, so you really had to dig deep. But it always stuck in my head, and this is where I came up with a company for my theatre company, film company called Tickle Me Morbid, because I've always been fascinated by that now, about the awkwardness of expression and how people tell a story in different ways. So yeah, but I've never really touched upon it so much until you kind of started talking about different things, and it's always been lingering in my head, but I never really knew how to approach it. So yeah.
Great. I mean, first of all, I'm curious to read the dissertation.
I don't know where.
Is it lost?
I don't know. I don't know. I submitted it, and that's part of history now. I have no idea.
Okay. Because it seems that how long did you have to write the piece of work?
I know the module was like a year long, and then they give you that final kind of. So I think we graduate in like April. So I think it was around January we got told, okay, right, you've seen all these things. We watched different things. We had different visitors come in. We did different performances, and then it was like crunch time. So yeah, a couple of months, but I did it in like 3 weeks.
Wow.
Obviously.
Goodness.
I'm a lot more experienced with different things now, but when you're like fresh faced and you've been in the institute from like school to college to uni, you only know so much, and then suddenly you're supposed to understand why people like with certain, like I didn't really understand mental health that much back then, and I didn't understand so many things, and now there's a lot more activism going on that we understand, and like equality and human rights. So like trying to figure out why someone would like cut themselves on stage and what that meant in terms of art, or I don't know. So yeah, I was a bit naive and immature back then. So yeah.
Well, but
That's
definitely
intense.
it is. I don't remember. In my mind, I do remember of an artist doing an action like that, but I think the only one that comes to my mind is Queen.
Okay.
But I don't think he's the one, because
he had a proper long, unpronounceable name. Well, back then it was. I think he might have passed away. I think he was bald.
Oh my! Let's see.
I've definitely tried to block it out of my head because it's the most intense. It's the most intense module ever. Like, you needed a break afterwards. It's like this is so graphic, and then like there were scenes of just anything. I mean, we got so desensitized by it by the end of the year, which I don't know if it was a good thing or not. So,
do you think if you were to like do the course now, you would have felt that way about it, seeing the things that I suppose are available to us?
Yeah, good question. Yes, because about 5 years ago, I worked for 2.5 years for a Holocaust education company. Okay. So I worked with survivors, and we pretty much taught in schools and did verbatim theatre all around the UK and a bit of Europe. And I saw some pretty, like, we had to watch testimonies and we had to watch a ton of different things. So seeing that and learning about human rights, and then I'm definitely more educated with mental health as well, because a lot of performers suffer from like anxiety, and like the industry is quite a depressing industry anyway, because there's so many ups and downs. So pretty much if you look left to right, you ask any musician or actor or anyone, they've all got mental health, they've all got some sort of, so I'm more mature. If I stepped into that module now, I'll probably be a lot more. Yeah, I wouldn't be like, he's bleeding, you know. But yeah.
How old were you back then?
21.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
You see,
22
I
maybe.
can't find this. I had a book for months and I returned it before Christmas or something. And he had this guy, I know, because was he kind of covered in something like dust or flour on stage?
Oh yeah, maybe,
Because he was
maybe.
a very big man, bald, with probably
Mm,
tattoos on him. And he was covered in white
yeah. I
material.
remember the tattoos because he looked kind of grotesque in a way. And I say that with respect, like, 'cause
Yeah.
I know he was dying, but like he definitely liked creating an image that was quite shocking. Like he had like tattoos everywhere, and like he had veins, and I think he worked out as well. Like he was maybe a former bodybuilder or something, but then he lost all that weight, so that skin looked, yeah.
I had this book about video art,
Yeah.
and yeah, there was this image that really remained. I mean, now you kind of let it merge again. And he had this little tube, you know, the one that you use for indeed taking a blood samples. You know,
Yeah.
doctors use it, and he was just letting this blood run, and as if he was walking, it seems like as if he was a model wearing a dress, but he didn't wear a dress actually, and he was just walking on the stage as if he was showing his clothing, and he turned around and he did this parade just with the blood dripping off.
I think the same guy did something that was that for me that felt like it was too close, too far beyond the line. There was another guy with him. The guy we're talking about was dying of AIDS, and then there was another guy who was fine. And I think they were trying to explain that the separation of materials can make or break, can be so fine between one reality and another. So he cut his leg, and then he put a piece of wood, a piece of transparent plastic on his leg, and then the healthy guy put his leg next to that as well.
Wow.
And it showed that one piece of material prevented one guy from becoming contaminated, but it goes to show how close it was. I thought that was like very risky, but it left an impression in my head.
Goodness,
that's crazy.
Yeah.
I can't help thinking of Dallas Buyer Club, how was it called? This Social Dallas Buyers Club? I can't remember.
Dallas Buyers Club, yeah.
Dallas Buyers Club, which...
I haven't seen it yet, but I know that Matthew McConaughey lost a lot of weight for it.
Goodness, honestly, it's I've watched it a couple of times in my life. It's something you can watch not very often, really. But it's very... I'm going to put the link for later on, so that we can, have a little remembrance of what we talk.
Okay.
Yeah, but definitely I'm gonna look into try and find the name of this performing artist. So he's a tall man with tattoos. I've got some images somewhere. And how about the gaze? Did you talk about the male gaze and female gaze, or was it centered on the male gaze?
Well, this is why I brought it up on Saturday, because you were talking about kind of erotic art and how pornography is perceived. So this was thrown at us, I mean, I don't know if it's just a Northampton thing or the fact that we're just in a Northampton uni. I mean, Northampton uni is definitely a lot better now than it was when I went, only 10 years ago, but it's state of the art now, and you've got all these facilities. We barely had like sausage rolls sold in the canteen. But when we were told about the male gaze, the initial reaction was homosexuality. I was like, oh, who's gay? Oh, you're gay, blah, blah, blah. It's very immature, but you're throwing all this stuff at 20-year-olds who, at that point, only knew acting as whoever had the most lines and who could be the best, who could be the funniest, and blah, blah, blah. and then suddenly there's like a line between going on a master's degree or whatever. And I don't know. I think it was just thrown at us because they were trying to be a lot more improve their curriculum a bit more. But within a couple of weeks, you know, we were seeing censored videos of people expressing themselves with nudity. How men, that was a big essay we had to write as well, like glimpsing what do men see as beauty and natural beauty, and what do women represent, and what's the initial thought a man sees in a woman when it comes to beauty, when it becomes I guess uncomfortable, which is interesting. If I could find that essay, and I passed that essay as well, if I could find the essay, it'd be interesting to see if I've got the same views. I know my views are much more mature now, but like it'd be interesting to compare the two.
Yeah, certainly interesting to look at that. Yeah, I mean, you might remember, Benji, we've known each other for quite a few years now, and honestly, I can't remember anymore how we've met. Where was
It
it?
was that meeting in town about.
It's the start of something.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
That was at when 2018, somewhere around
I
that.
think so. Yeah.
Yeah, so we've met there, and then I think that was the first year of mine. So in my second year, I've been looking a lot about the gaze, male gaze and female gaze. And there are some quite interesting perspective on that. And of course, you have extremists, especially of feminism right now, saying that the male gaze, well, it's kind of obvious in a sense, but the male gaze was born because of our patriarchal society and the fact that even at the very beginning of society, in a sense, the male figures, they were holding the political power and work power. So in a sense, they were the only one that could read for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
And then I looked at Victorian erotical toys and philosophical toys, which are
Isn't there some of that in the local museum? I'm sure there was.
in
In the one in
Northampton.
town. Yeah, it's closed at the moment, but I'm sure there was a room that had like weird Victorian sex toys or something.
You mean which one? The one at the Abington Park?
The shoe museum.
You see, I have never been there because when I moved here in 2017 in October, and the museum has never been open ever since I moved into town.
A funny story about that is I always think I'm directly responsible because a day before it closed, me and my friend went there because my friend never been. So we went in there and I tried on a high heel shoe as a joke. It was something you could use, and she took a video of me walking around, and I tripped over and I knocked something off. And then the next day I walked down to the Derngate because I was working there, and I saw that it closed, and I thought it was me.
Oh, man.
But yeah, I'm going to be volunteering at the history section of the museum because they're doing a massive photography wall, and they want to put the wall together, and they're going to do loads of creative stuff. So I'm part of that team. It was supposed to be last year, but obviously, you know, lockdown, and then it was supposed to be at some point this year. So whenever it opens, I'll invite you.
Yeah.
But yeah, sorry.
Fantastic. Yeah. No, but well, you see, I didn't know that there was anything to do with Victorian philosophical toys. But that has been such an interesting research for me. I've got something actually. Nothing pornographic. So I've got this one here. I can't remember the name of it.
Okay.
It's let's see. It's not like that. So basically, you've got, and this is male gaze entirely. Those are very old photographs, and they are duplicates because you prop them in here, and then, well, I don't know if you will ever be able, but to focus as such, let's see if I don't know if it works, but basically the when you've got both eyes in here, you need to focus the image, and it kind of become one and 3D, and it's augmented reality of, what was it, early 1900. And I was
So
fascinated.
it's like a 200-year-old Google.
Yeah, I was fascinated.
Where did you find that, Valeria?
Was my dad. He passed it on to me.
So cool.
Yeah, oh my goodness, I love these things. And then somewhere in the house, I don't even know where it is right now, I had a little pen where there is an image embedded in a microscopical little plastic pebble. So you have to put your eye in line with some light source and try and focus, but the image is, I don't know, millimeters, even less than that. And that was quite an old thing as well. So I was fascinated by the act of
It goes to show as well how like desensitized we are, that now we could be projected, like we have a projection of like hundreds of images and like Google and like websites and stuff like that. And because we need that constant satisfaction, like we've seen everything, so we need more, and people like experiment more and explore more. Whereas back then, I mean, I don't know how many of those pieces of card were available. Back then, it would just be nice just having one image. You know, you went to a corner, I guess, you had a little look,
you see,
and then you were done.
All of these, the majority of the images I have here are of ladies in their nightgowns in bedrooms playing. It's not.
Yeah. Very innocent.
Yeah, well, today we could see that there's nothing, it's like a game sort of thing. Before, in that time, people weren't used to see ankles or the skin of the legs of people, of women. And then sometimes, like in this one here, I don't know if you can see it at all, but there is a man there.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Lying on them behind of the piece of wherever it is. So it's just always focusing on the man looking at the woman. And then sometimes we find massive crowds. So it's very evident from these images that the interest was focused on the male perception of the images, because there is, apart from nature maybe and some architectural images, there is nothing that I believe it was focused for the female viewer. And then also there, I couldn't find it because it costs quite a lot of money, so I couldn't buy it, but there is a sort of machine where you just look into, it looked like a record player, those ones that before they had in bars, and you could put the Knicker or wherever, and there were images rolling. At Delapre in Northampton, we have the machine in the children's section, the history section. There is a little game with the nuns, and you can roll the machine.
Okay. I've never been in there.
All right. So there is this image.
I've been to Delapre. I've just never been into the building because, like, I like to contribute donations and stuff. But I feel like it should be free for people that live nearby. Like, I think there was like nearly £10 for a half an hour tour or something. I was like, I don't even know what the tour is going to be, so I kind of just didn't go in.
All right. Yeah. Well, I went there because we did little kind of artist in residence with the university.
Oh, okay.
So we had to select. We had to make some responses through our practice to be placed in the inside Delapre for a project. So yeah, we visited.
I think there's something that isn't really explained very. I think it's something that's not really explained very often about like the male gaze. I know there's a lot of disrespect in terms of, especially in history, where men treated women. I know it's in some cultures it's happening now, but like women are looked as lesser beings, and they should just be at home, not seen, not heard of. They're doing all the work, and the men are the ones in charge of stuff. But like, because I do a lot of comedy, I've noticed this with an argument about stand-up comedy, and it's not always, because I know there's a lot more female comedians coming out now that are really good and really cutting edge and really they've got really bold opinions. But I think back in the day as well, and maybe just to fit in or just to they thought it was the subject that people relate to for a while, and overlooked. So they've got all this kind of energy to talk about what frustrates them about men, which is completely justified. But sometimes I feel like women really ridicule men to the point where they literally emasculate them and completely rip them apart, like they're not good at anything in comedy. When you look at men in comedy, men will take the piss out of their wife, like for example Lee Evans or Bill Burr. They will mock their wife and do their voice and kind of talk about, I know, being in a car with them, but it always ends up with love. It always ends up with, you know what, I love my wife to bits, and I'm nothing without her. And I think this is not touched upon, that men literally, this is what I think annoys people sometimes when it comes to a lot of sexual harassment cases as well. Men tend to idolize women, because a good man will say that a good woman is the best thing ever. It's like, if you find a woman that literally is the kindest, the sweetest, she just completes them. It doesn't matter how tough you are. It doesn't matter how funny you are, how independent you are. If you've got that other half that completes you, it's the best thing ever. And like, men always will try and express their manlyhood, but they know that without the support of a wife or without the support of a mother, you know, they're nothing. And I think sometimes it's not realized, and men might act really bad and say the wrong thing, but in the end of the day, a lot of men just see beauty and they want to tell them how beautiful they are, but sometimes maybe they don't know how to word it or something. And like, I find that a lot, that sometimes where women do have, especially now, they have this power. I see that I've got some friends who are models, and all over Facebook, they're like very empowered, and there's pictures of them in literally lingerie, and they do these GIFs, you know, those boomerang videos where they're kind of showing a bit of cleavage, and they know they've got the power. They know they're going to have, and I've seen it in the comments, there's people that they've never seen before. They're from all over the world, responding with really seedy comments like, "Oh, I'd love to see you on my lap," or "You look great, babe." And the same men comment on these pages. But if it was an average woman who was just posting a picture of something, they wouldn't respond. They only respond to the women who they fantasize, and that's when they show that they care. Like, "Oh, you can always talk to me." So long story short, I feel like there are some people that have this power, and they know that some men want to say, "Oh, you've got amazing breasts," or "You've got amazing body." So what do you think is obviously respect, obviously boundaries, obviously don't go too far, obviously consent, but where do you think the balance is in terms of, you know, because I feel like sometimes we go from men being completely dominant to the tables turned, and now men are completely ridiculed and mocked and told they can't say or do anything. You can't look, but then if we don't, so, you know,
where is the limit? Or
yeah, like what is the right thing to do these days? Because I think there's just confusion on both parts now.
I agree. Definitely.
It's quite complex.
I think there is some feminists who take feminism, maybe they don't understand the actual like definition of the term on both men and women. Like, there's some men who are like, "Oh, you're a feminist, like I don't want to be associated with that." And then men who come out saying like, "I'm a feminist," are then being like, "Oh, are you gay then?" And it's like, no, feminism is not
lesbianism.
putting women in power as men. Feminism is about creating equality and putting them at the same level as most men. And I think that's where there's been a lot of confusion, because the word feminism has now become like almost like a stigma. And completely agree with you in the sense that I don't think it's right that men completely like ridicule men, like women ridicule men, sorry, especially like I've seen it and I think it's wrong, because if you know, if you want the same thing, then don't do the thing that they were doing that you didn't like, because that's not right, you know. And I think with a lot of the sexual harassment cases as well, like there's a lot of false claims that have come about from women, and that has completely destroyed men's lives. And like there was one, for example, where a footballer, his career was completely gone. I think he was in prison for like 5 years or something, and it came out that she actually lied about the whole thing, and she had her name and identity hidden, whereas he was in the public eye. His career got completely torn apart, and obviously even though it came out that she lied, there's still that like thing behind his name for the rest of his life now, that he potentially sexually harassed someone. And I think that that's not fair. I think both like if that happens and a rape case comes out, both identities should be hidden until proven. And then, you know, and then if the girl has found to be guilty and has lied, I think she should get some sort of punishment as well. She should be protected, because that's completely wrong. And I think maybe it comes from that, and it comes from the system in which like we're still protecting our innocence. And it's like, well, I don't know.
I think there's a lack of communication. I get really frustrated that, like, because I'm in the scene where people express themselves like every day through art, performance, music. I attend a lot of meetings. I know a lot of feminists and environmentalists and activists in my life. So I go from a weekly basis where people are saying boundaries, don't do this, consent. And then I go out on a weekend when I want to kind of chill out with my, you know, your everyday mates who, it's like a tradition every Saturday without fail, because they work hard, you know, builders, shop workers, whatever, they want to go and let their hair down. Suddenly you're in a club and everyone's acting like animals pretty much, and all the stuff that people are claiming during the week where it comes to safety, protection, boundaries goes out the window. So you've got people leering over each other, people saying really unflattering comments to each other, people dressing like they want people to look at them, but they don't. And then there's no communication. So you've got all the Jack the lads and guys that have no idea. I mean, I've overheard it with my friends sometimes. So I've got a friend who hadn't had a relationship for a number of years. So I ended up walking up to them into the bar, and then I hear some of my friends who are really decent people, have got relationships, and I don't know if it was just banter, but they're just going, right, and they were about to go to Ibiza a couple of weeks later. They're like, right, what you need to do, mate, when you get to Ibiza, just find the nearest bird, shag her, blah, blah. And I was like, whoa. We're supposed to be talking about all these sensitivities and stuff, and then but I'm hearing women do it as well. I'm hearing women wolf whistle men. I'm hearing women slag people off and shout, blah, 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 blah. I've been to play. I mean, maybe this is just Northampton, but I've seen some places where women are flashing their breasts, and I'm like, there's no decorum, and there's no etiquette, and there's no respect to your own being. And I'm thinking, like, obviously, this is what people say about rape culture and stuff like that. It's like, it's not the victim's fault. It's the person that did it should know better and have limits. But at the same time, I can't help but be a bit of a mother, because I've got protective parents, and also live with my sister. I'm very close to my sister, so I'm always in protection mode, like older brother mode. When I see sometimes a woman walking by herself, and it's happened before, I've seen in the paper where young females only age 18 have gone missing or have been killed or something. There was someone who was close to some friends of mine who she got attacked a couple of years ago. You see them walking by themselves in just like the skinniest dress ever, and they're so drunk, and all it takes is someone to, like, you know, and even if they're wearing a coat or something, it'll happen as well. But like, you know that people are leering and looking, and I just think the mentality of people, we're going from 0 to 60. So suddenly all these feminists and all these activists are saying, no, this is this, and this is what we should do. But no one knows how to build up to that thought process. And this is what I was arguing about Black Lives Matter last year as well. I completely agree about educating ourselves and learning, but when people have no idea how to talk to the local Black community, for example, they have no idea about the history of Africa or anything like that, suddenly we're told this is this, but there's no build up. So, and then people wonder why racism exists, is because we're told to go from one to the other without any kind of educational bridge, and suddenly everyone just throws stuff at us, and then you wonder why people roll their sleeves and get aggressive. So I think, long story short, somehow, I know there's all these workshops and speeches and stuff, but sometimes they're ran by people who want to tell people but not guide people. So people react. It's the same thing with politics. People react like, oh, I don't want to be told because I don't like the tone of your voice. They feel they're at blame, and then they run away, and then it's just ongoing over and over again. And I think this is why art is so important to me as well, because I feel like you can express more with a lasting image or music or something. You just got to hit the right kind of, I hope I'm making sense.
Yeah, I think that I lived in different cultures as well. So I've been living in 2 different nations. I speak 3 different languages.
Wow.
I think I've got a different perspective from someone that has lived maybe always in the same place, or maybe not, but I've been experiencing on my skin the different cultures from Italy to the UK, to Wales, to even Yorkshire, South Africa. I mean, I've been a little bit around, and I think the problem lies in the lack of communication and education.
Yeah.
And sometimes I don't know how this society arrived at this point, but I feel I can't help myself to think that there is some linkage that I can't quite grasp right now, to do with we're the society of I get offended by what you say, so you should not say things because I could get offended. While it should be as it was before when I was at home in Italy, that if you, as a person, not you, but if a person is offended by someone else's comment, first of all, both have got the right of say with respect. I'm not saying that negative thoughts or nasty things like racism should be voiced in that sense, but I don't know. I've perceived that there is this lack of communication, because people get very easily offended, and in general, that to me it's symptom of not being able to accept criticisms, that your idea it's definitely the correct one, which is being fed by the social media algorithms, would keep posting the things that you like without giving you the other part. So I've noticed this in my feedings in Instagram or wherever, even down to the adverts that appears, they're all in line with my thoughts. I have never had something to say how great Trump has been,
It's definitely prevalent in lockdown as well, and with the whole pandemic. I think the reason why the UK, I wrote this yesterday somewhere, the reason why the UK struggles more than ever is because we lack discipline. So I come from Israel, so I've lived here since I was pretty much 6 years old. But I've got like Argentine family. Huh?
My whole family's from Israel.
Are you kidding me?
I don't know.
Oh, wow.
Look at that.
Oh wow. I wouldn't have guessed.
My family live in Ranana and up in Tiberias as well. So.
I've been to Tiberias. That's lovely there.
Yeah.
I come from Haifa. A small
I think
world.
my mum
Wow.
lived there as well, in Haifa.
Yo.
It is so sweet.
So like obviously in Israel, I think it's changed now a little bit, but like it's mandatory to go to the army. So I think men go for 3 years when they turn 18. And I think when I was younger, women go for 2 years. I can't always feel guilty because my whole family, all my other brothers and sisters and cousins, and all, I've all been to the army, and yet, you know, I'm at home. But like we left during the Gulf War, because we had English family. Actually, my dad could have gone to Italy for his work, but he chose England because of my mum's parents. So I could have known Italian and stuff.
Yeah.
But like there's maturity with a lot of Israelis as well, because for 3 years their childhood or their early teens, instead of like the drinking culture and all that stuff. I mean, they go out and stuff. There's a big party scene in Israel, but like they're mature because they have to, before they go to education. I think it happens in football as well. I think there might be some exemptions now, but in the past, and maybe this is why the Israeli team doesn't always do that well, is because players at their peak years, between 18 and 22 or something, are in the army. But I feel in the UK, we've got this weird system where we're democratic, if that makes sense, because we're not, but we are. We've got these freedoms that we exploit, and we've got this kind of diddum culture where everyone's like, oh, she could do let her have mistakes, or she could say what she wants, or I am who I am, and then you can't say anything, and then everyone's kind of spoiled, and then most of us have not dealt with a war. Most of us have not dealt with a proper like disease or you know. So even when I was living there, I remember this vividly. I spent my third birthday with a gas mask on in a shelter during the Gulf War, and outside my window we had missile trucks. I remember the air raid sirens. This is why I've like kind of flourished during this lockdown, because I'm used to it. I'm kind of, you know, whereas you see people that can't even last a month without going crazy. I'm like, what are we teaching our future generation, that when something goes bad, and I mean, look at Australia, which is much bigger. You look at New Zealand, even Israel, they cracked this whole virus really quickly. Whereas us in America are supposed to be these like proper countries of the world, and we're so far behind because of our discipline. We could have been over this months ago, but because people don't know how to be disciplined, and because we've got no system in place where people like to be told. So that's such a small world.
Isn't it? It's crazy.
I had a thought about, oh God, I forgot. I had it like
Sorry.
say, and it just vanished. Oh, cracky. It was to do with something like, this is it. Something I've noticed, especially now during lockdown number 1, it was like incredibly overwhelming, but now I always find this. It's this sort of positive comments that sometimes are not really truly helpful for me. Like, oh, you should take the time you need, or you should just take the day off, and it's okay to be like that. For me, it's not helpful, because if I were to listen to every single one of these comments, I would have been lazing on my sofa and being, you know, completely lost in this sort of linger of sadness given by, you know, whatever is happening and all of that. So I don't know if you could hear me before. The line seems that it was breaking. I don't know. I'm gonna wait a second.
I can hear you.
No,
Okay. Yeah. So for me, and I don't know if you can relate to this, but for me, a truly positive comment or something that can help me to improve, it's not very much saying, oh no, don't worry, it's fine to be lazy like you've been today, stuff like that. It's something like, are you happy? Yes or no? If you're not, do something. If you are, keep doing what you do. It's more, no, you have to do something to solve the whatever issue you are experiencing with the time that you need to resolve it. but just accepting whatever is happening that makes you unhappy in some respect. You know, what I can't understand why is this okay. You know, it's just
I
probably
think there's a big escapism culture. I think there's a big escapism culture in the UK, especially when there's not enough. I mean, there's a whole issue with our communities where they close community centres down, or especially in Northampton, where every time there's an opportunity to build something, they build a supermarket or more housing. So we've got where we can have open art spaces or whatever. This is why I'm trying to do stuff with Beckett's Park. I feel like people don't have enough stuff to get on with. So when it comes to the weekend, the thing to do is escape all your troubles, all your stresses during the week, and it's to get drunk. And I feel that's the same with a lot of things. Now it's like you got some anxiety or you've got something you want to talk about. I feel like we only talk about politics when there's an election, and then the rest of the time, unless you're into politics, we don't discuss anything. We don't talk about community issues. You know, Northampton's got a massive Eastern European community and Chinese community and an African community. And I live next to Nigerian neighbors and Polish neighbors, and yet we don't talk. We might say hello when we're opening the door next to each other, but I know nothing. I know nothing about the Romanians. I know nothing about the Lithuanians. And yet we're all about diversity and immigration. And we're like, yeah, let them in. But then everyone seems to be closeted racists, even if they don't want to admit it, because they have no idea about anyone. And yet we're supposed to coexist with each other. And I think we're all escaping what we want to talk about, and we're just drowning our sorrows with alcohol and whatever. And then we go back to work again. And then, you know, the cycle continues. I think we've built up that so much that we don't talk about feelings as much anymore. We don't talk about what is crippling society unless we're really angry, you know. And I think sometimes we lack role models as well in the community that can really step up and do stuff for people, and, you know.
Yeah, I feel that it's true for me that we can speak lots of words, but the actual facts are quite apart from what we say in the nation, you know, like, about diversity, for example. But I have known people and organizations, more or less big and small, you know, that they have got in their, I don't know, statements, or how do you call it, values, that we are all for inclusivity and all of that. And then you see the people that work in the organization, or the people they decide to collaborate with, or which kind of relation do they have with these communities that they're trying to reach. And it's not everybody, okay, but many are only to tick the little box because the Art Council England needs that, or whatever other funding body that supports the organization needs the inclusivity thing. It's like, I need to make a toilet which is okay for disabled people, otherwise I can't open the venue. It's that kind of importance more than a true emotional and human level of I need to reach out to people, which, you know, it's something that surely can't be solved in days. It's something that needs to be implemented. Certainly you can start little by little, but the biggest issue I found, difference of culture I found between Sicily and England, is what you were saying. You have no idea who lives next to you. In Italy, okay, I didn't know everybody that lived in my street, but I knew my next door neighbor at the very least. And I moved many times, but I knew at least the people that lived in my building, a number of them. The people in flat number 2, don't talk to them, they're a bit crazy. These sort of things, you know, but because the guy in flat number 5 has told you so. But then we do, you know, when we live in an apartment block in Italy, you have got these monthly meetings, or maybe every 3 months, in which every resident meets up to discuss about the building. You know, oh, we need to pay for the lift is broken, we need to pay for it, stuff like that. but that's a moment of community, and you will end up knowing people, you know, and we don't do that. It's not like we've got the street meeting. It doesn't exist here, and I feel it
I mean,
should.
my parents have got something because they've got a gated area behind their house where all the garages are. A few years ago, there was vandalism and people like kids were just messing around with mopeds and stuff. So they got some gates installed. So they have like a committee meeting every now and again about stuff. But yeah, I think I always say this. You know, it's all good and well saying. I think people are trying to sound like white knights, so they're trying to sound good. It's like when you see. I find it pathetic sometimes. I see it on Facebook where at one point, you know, a man will act like a male chauvinist idiot, but then when there's a woman that's clearly attracted, they write some really kind words underneath. They don't give a crap. They just want to get brownie points. They want that woman to acknowledge them. And I think the same thing is when people go, oh, yeah, I think we need to have more diversity. But then when it comes to our communities, how are we supposed to fix our communities and our society if we don't know the people that we need to coexist with?
Yeah.
We don't know what the wants and needs are of the Muslim community. We don't know what the cultural limitation. Like some people have a different way of doing things and handling things. Some people have different ways of earning a living, different ways of speaking to each other, different ways of socializing. Sometimes you could just let people be, which is fine. But other times, you know, people are always complaining. Everyone's living on top of each other. No one's understanding each other. So if we can't coexist, how are we supposed to fix our streets and if we want to have witnesses to a crime, and yet we don't talk to a certain, you know, demographic or whatever. So I don't know. I think we're a lot more open and accessible in terms of internet and whatever, but I think we've never been more isolated. I'm not just talking about lockdown. I'm saying we're like I moved to this country in the glorious 90s. I miss the 90s. It seemed like such a simple time, and maybe I'm thinking nostalgically, but like it seemed like even through struggles, you could just, I don't know, there was more passion and pride in this country.
Oh yeah.
And I think the more we have, the more we're exploiting and taking advantage of, and the more we're losing our sense of humanity.
Yeah, it's something to do. This reminded me of the minimalism as a movement. I don't know if you know about it. There is a very interesting program on Netflix, The Minimalist.
Yeah, I've seen it.
And that one there, life gets easier according to the minimalists if you own less material stuff that you actually don't need, down to, okay, we have 3 people in the house, we need just 3 glasses, 3 plates, and 3 sets of cutleries, and that's okay. But I think this way of living opens you up to search for different type of more, which is human relationship. And in a sense, this is what I remember to be home in Sicily. Maybe I went in the Waldorf school, which is a German philosophical school in Sicily still. And there I remember I transitioned from one nursery school to this one, and I was used to bring my toys probably with me. They were plastic toys, maybe horses or whatever. And the teacher in the Waldorf school said, no, you can't bring those here because everyone needs to have the same toys. We play with wood. So I wasn't allowed to bring those with me because we had to be equal there, down to I couldn't.
So I've got someone's knocking on my door. I'll be back in a second.
So yeah, we had there were certain rules, which for me they were perfectly normal. Like you could of course play by yourself, but it was always very, very. They pushed you to be with others, to do collective games, to create stuff, even in the garden. Like we were making a little house, which was very tiny, you know, one room circular thing for kids to play into. Or we made a little bridge that got to nothing, you know, but is from ground to ground, but it's wooden. And then it was based around the play and around the fact that you are a thinking person, a little person, but still a person with who you are, who I was back then. I am still that person today. And I think that experience was totally different from the world I live into now. That's why I'm trying to create something that brings me back to that level of humanity. Yeah, we went a lot of topic, but I don't mind at all. I think it was nice.
What?
No, like today, we went a lot of off topic, but that I think
Me
it's
too.
fine. You know, this is, after all, is not an academic discussion on just what he said in the title.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went to see a studio today
Mm.
in Nottingham.
Yeah.
It's like a space. It's called the Carousel, and it's like a community. So like you walk in, and there's a big like open room with like a big table, and they basically said that they've created like a big space that people can just go and sit to like read or talk or like do your work with other people in like the same place. And then it looks really, really cool. There's a little studio downstairs. It's kind of like a university studio, so it's not massive, but it's just got like a really nice vibe to it. So
And can you
I'm
access
excited.
during COVID?
Yeah, everything's fine.
Right then.
As long as you wear like your mask and you hand sanitize regularly and stuff, I don't think it's a problem. And there's also like a printing room, like printmaking facilities, like screen printing and stuff in the same place, which is amazing. And like risograph printing. So I am
right. Beautiful.
well, I've never really done it before, so I'm like hoping that if I ask for a induction, they'll do it. But yeah, it'd be nice to just get back to working alongside other people.
That's very good that you found this. For now, the time I've really missed the studio, it was when I now need for the project, for the exhibition, I need to test something and I need to attach materials on the wall, like posters and things. And of course it's my house, so in theory I can do whatever I want, but still I can't mess up as freely as I would if I was in
as you would.
So now it's a lot about selecting the right materials, so when I take them off I don't destroy the plaster in the wall. So I'm like doing a lot of extra research about the best products to, you know, suitable for the wall. And then I really missed, I think we talked about this last time, I really miss working together in the same place and having this chat that you don't necessarily have to say anything, but you're just sitting in your table doing your, I don't know, drawing or whatever.
This is literally what I'm doing right now. Like
I know.
I joined this doing something because I was like, I want to talk to people while I do this.
Exactly. So this is precisely, so this is happening. Yeah. Well, right now I only had to do some very tedious jobs, but I could, those are the one you have to concentrate, because as I'm putting together a document for university and it's very long, a long process, but you have to source materials from my emails and read the content. So it's a lot of thinking involved. Yeah. Right, guys, it's 5 past 5. I don't know what you want to do, if you want to stay a little longer or to zoom out. What are you up to?
It's up to you guys. I'm just sitting painting. So
What are you painting?
it's a bit weird, really. I've got like this frame and I'm trying to like paint the edge of it with this like gold
Oh wow.
kind of thing. Because I did a jigsaw.
Yeah.
I really like, and I stuck it all together with PVA glue.
Oh, nice.
Oh wow.
Look at that.
Awesome.
Because I really love zodiacs and star signs and all of that. So I thought I'm gonna like paint some moons down the side and try and go all crazy with it. But yeah, I'm currently trying to do like a gold round frame, as if it's quite like an old ornate thing, but
Nice.
it's not. It's just, so yeah,
I just destroyed
playing, really.
puzzle. I had a puzzle.
Sorry.
I had a jigsaw puzzle that I made months ago, and he has been sitting underneath the telly for months.
Really?
Yeah, and I was sick of looking at it because it came out of the furniture a bit too much, so it was showing maybe a little bit too much. And I didn't have a frame. I wasn't sure if I wanted to put it up anywhere because I wasn't crazy for it. So I said, wow,
Yeah.
fine. I destroyed the thing and it's now in the box as if nothing happened.
Yeah, we did a puzzle way back in like April, May. And it was something I've had for years. It was something I think I was given in a Christmas years ago, and I just never did anything with. We finally did it, and because it's that kind of artistic approach to everything, everything has to turn into a project. Instead of just leaving it, kind of admiring for a bit, shoving it back in the box, we decided we wanted to frame it.
Yeah.
We wanted to put it as a centerpiece because it kind of represented lockdown, and it took us a while because it was huge. But we did it wrong. So we used the wrong glue, and some pieces became really sticky. But we managed to put it in, and then we framed it, and then as we put it on the wall, slowly it just kind of slid, and eventually just went. So then we put it back in the box, and then for Christmas as a gift, it got revived, but all the pieces were still stuck together. We're put in like a big montage just to show this is life. Sometimes it's a jumble, blah, 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 and it's framed on a different thing.
That's cool.
On my wall.
Can you show us?
Yeah, if it's there.
So it's a Simpsons jigsaw. So it's every single character of every episode ever created up until the point now. So it's that.
Wow.
That's even more interesting.
So it's like 3 layers because it's even bigger, but all the pieces were like ruined by the glue.
That's nice.
So, yeah.
Wow, look at that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I'll
be back in a second, guys. I'll just take it down, but you can stay in the bubble.
Okay. What did you think of the one you attended on Saturday?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting. I mean, this is kind of why I'm here now. I was saying to Valeria that like sometimes you attend a meeting that you're the only man there, and sometimes you kind of stumble upon something that seems a bit more personal for the females, and either they feel weird like you're like the man is the elephant in the room, and they've got to kind of, or it feels like you're listening to really intense conversations about feminism and how, it was nice to feel included, and it was an open conversation where everyone was included, and every opinion mattered. It wasn't just like, excuse me, your opinion doesn't matter because you're a man. And I'm not trying to stereotype. I know there are a lot of different groups where people are nice and inclusive, but I have also been to some very fierce environments where people are like, because like, for example, And I know, I mean, people take one look at me. I know that I get to have, you know, I've got the opportunity to walk down the street, and I don't get discriminated upon because, on first glance, I'm a immediately means I don't have an opinion. And then I'm like, well, how are we supposed to change society if the people that you're frowning upon, or the people that you think are the privileged ones, can't say anything? And you know, so long story short, it was nice to listen to people and be listened to and feel engaged with and stuff. So
Yeah, of course. I think Valeria's done quite a good job. Like, everyone that attends is just wants their voice to be heard, so it wouldn't really make sense for us not to like listen to others as well.
Yeah.
Why do you keep changing location?
I wanted a tea, but I didn't want to just leave the computer there. So that's welcome to my kitchen. Show you my kitchen.
Yeah, cooking for Valeria.
I think I've seen your kitchen before. You made me a coffee once. It was like the best espresso ever.
Right?
Yeah, we were doing a funding bid or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, my espresso are nice, right? I'm gonna make some noise. So for now, I keep the mic off, but I'll hear you guys.
Okay.
I've got to make a move now because I need to get something ready. So it's a lovely meeting you, and we'll chat again at some point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think she's gone now.
I'm
going now. I'm going now. I've got to start making some stuff.
Okay, fantastic.
So thank you for joining me, and let me know if any updates.
Okay.
See you later. Nice to meet you.
Bye.
Bye.